Hey, everybody. What's going on? This is Chill10974. Hey, today I'm going to do a little bit of a different live stream. This isn't going to be a very long one. It's just something I kind of wanted to do. Um, if you notice in the title, it says 9/11: A Personal Perspective. Now, the one thing I'm just going to put out there, this is a disclaimer, is that I'm not going to be going to the history, the full history of what happened 22 years ago. Um, I'm going to give a perspective of someone who is a first responder and lived through that particular time. Before we get going, I guys want to say hi. I got some people in the chat. Got Zach in the chat. What's going on, Zach? Yes, it is. It's a very somber day, but it's also something that we have to continue to learn from and things like that. I got Adam in the chat. What's up there, my dude? Hope everything's going good. Now, going back to what I was going to say, this is going to be something that's going to be a perspective on my part because it was in a description of what was going on with me and in the broader aspect of all the events that were going on that particular day. Yeah, a little bit, definitely. Uh, that's awesome to hear, Adam. Good job. It's good to know you're doing all right, my dude. So, in general, 9/11 um, consisted of four separate terrorist attacks here in the United States. Two aircraft from Boston, Massachusetts, Logan International Airport, struck the Twin Towers in New York. We had another plane that I believe left Newark that struck the Pentagon, and then we had another one that crash landed in Pennsylvania. Uh, we already know, I mean, almost 3,000 people died that day, um, needlessly. Um, and it triggered so much. It triggered the war in Afghanistan, um, which ultimately led to the raid and killing of Osama bin Laden, um, one of the persons who helped plan 9/11. Uh, Today, it's one of those days where you do take a look. I know that was gonna be the attack on the Capitol building. So it it is it's a day that and the weeks that followed after that was a very somber, eerie, tough thing to go through. Um, it's very quiet. I can remember when they shut down the U.S. airspace, and it was very quiet. You didn't see any aircraft in the air, um, and it was just really eerie, very weird. Um, the tremendous outpouring of patriotism and love of community, and the outpouring of charity and love and everything else, especially going to the city of New York, which lost so many of its brave firefighters, EMTs, um, NYPD, and Port Authority police, um, on top of the almost 3,000 civilians. Yeah, and it's one of those days that you can remember where you were, what you were doing when that thing happened. Adam was saying he was at his girlfriend's house that day. Um, this is like I said, this is going to be my perspective. What happened with me. Well, I remember getting up that morning, and getting ready for work like I normally do. Got in my car, and around 9 o'clock in the morning, I was getting on to the Southeast Expressway in Boston and Dorchester, and heading north to go to work that day, to work on an ambulance. For those who don't know, I'm an emergency medical technician. I've been one now for over 25 years. Still hold my certification, and I still work. Uh, so one of my morning rituals after getting my coffee in the morning at Dunkin' Donuts was to turn on my radio, listen to the traffic and the news. So at about 9:03 a.m., I can remember this specifically. I turned on my radio to WBZ, which is AM 1030, which is the news, one of the news channels here on the radio in Boston. And I remember the announcer on that day basically said a plane hit one of the towers at the World Trade Center. My first reaction was probably that was about the same of, I think, several other people. Oh, must have been a small commuter plane, a small plane. What happened? It's like, oh my God, what's going on? And then it started, and then the second plane hit on my way up. And then the reports came in that these are commuter planes. And that the towers were on fire. I was very shocked. I was like, wow, what is going on? Then, before I arrived at work, the plane hit the Pentagon. At that particular point, there was no speculation on what was going on, at least in my own mind, is that we were being attacked in some way, shape, or form. And then a little bit later, after I punched in at work, then the plane crashed in Pennsylvania, where the passengers decided to retake the plane. One of the things I can remember from watching the television up in our crew room was the utter shock of seeing those buildings on fire and then watching them collapse. And watching the fires at the Pentagon and listening to all the news reports that were coming in during that. It was very confusing. But the amount of information that they were able to obtain and what we found out in the subsequent days after the attack were amazing. And after the confusion and a little bit of the shock was wearing off, the only thing at that point that I wanted to do, and I believe that a lot of my brothers and sisters across public service wanted to do, was to go to New York. We kept asking, when are they going to, is Massachusetts going to, is OEMS going to put together a task force to go down there? Are we, did they have any idea what they're going to be needing or anything? Or, there was even talk about people going down there on their own. A few of us to go down there on our own accord to go try to help out in one way, shape, or form. And I think I can remember one other perspective from that particular day was the matter of hopelessness. There's nothing you can do to stop what was going on. You could do nothing to try to help anybody. You could only stare blankly at the television or listened dumbfounded on the radio to what was going on, not believing that this is actually something that's happening. You can't believe it. Another thing that kind of welled up was anger. Who would do this? Why? And it was, we just wanted to have something, some place to direct those feelings and say, hey, you're the one that caused this. And then watching the firefighters, the construction workers, the rescue workers, the police officers, and everything scouring the rubble looking for survivors and just hoping and praying that people would absolutely would be alive. And every once in a while, seeing them getting somebody out of the rubble and then watching the live updates and everything else. And uh, it was surreal, very tough to watch, listen to. I think one of the other things too that comes to mind. Thank you, Dr. Ghost. How you doing today, my dude? I think one of the other things that kind of came to mind that day, and the subsequent days after the fact, was the profound, was actually two feeling. I think two things is kind of really tough to describe. I mean, the first one would probably be the immense amount of sadness of what happened, and learning a lot of the stories and starting to hear some of the things that were coming out of, well, happening at the time, and seeing some of the videos that were, some of the video shots that were coming out, and it just broke your heart when you saw that. But the other thing that was, um, I think the other thing that I could probably say that actually kind of felt a little, that definitely welled up that day, was an immense sense of patriotism and community and pride. It was a very weird, it was something that you rarely ever see. And seeing Americans come together and stop, forgetting about the division, the things that divided us, and had a common cause, was something that I don't think I could probably describe. And it lasted a little bit, and then obviously the subsequent information that came out, and then us going to Afghanistan to go after Al Qaeda with a vengeance, and with our allies coming with us to take these people out, and understanding these were really horrible, horrible people who have no regard for life, was a disgusting thing. And honestly, today, just seeing some, if you watch some of the ceremonies on TV, especially down in New York and in Pennsylvania. Hey, what's going on, Wolfie? Welcome. When you watch some of the things that were going on, watch the ceremonies that are going on down there, all I can tell you is that if there's anything that I'm very glad that people are still doing, is that people will still remember what happened that day. Um, because this is something that we should never, ever forget about. It's a profound waypoint in our history, um, that affected not only the lives of the people who were lost, or the families of the people who lost loved ones, or the firefighters, or the police officers, or the EMTs, and things of that nature. It was a profound. It left a profound mark on us as a country itself. A lot of good things came out of that. A lot of good things came out of it. A lot of bad things came out of it. And we're never fully, truly going to have closure. But one of the things that did happen that helped with that closure was when SEAL Team 6 got Osama bin Laden. I think that helped quite a bit, getting that son of a bitch, sending him exactly where he needed to go for killing all those people. So like I said, this isn't going to be a very long stream. I'm probably going to be wrapping this up, but this is something I just wanted to share a perspective of someone who lived through that, and something that you get a little bit of a little personal um, account from someone who was working that day. And I can tell you and those subsequent events like the marathon bombing that was something completely off the charts too, because I was working that day also. But I hope that maybe that gives you a little bit of a different perspective on hearing it from someone who was personally working that particular day and understanding what was going through our minds, especially those of us who are in public safety, what we really wanted to go ahead and do, and things of that nature. No, it's not a great day in American history, but at the same time, I think it is, because I think what it really did, Wolf, is what it actually showed to not only to ourselves, which we needed to see, but it showed to the rest of the world the type of unifying event and a type of effect it has on a free people. And it also shows it is something that we as a country are not something not is not someone that you want to mess around with, especially when you do something in such a cowardly manner in which they did do, in which these terrorists did. It unleashed the full power of the United States military on a group of terrorists where we pretty much wiped them out. But at the same time, it did show some chinks in our armor. Hey, with that being said, I just wanted to do that today and give you a little bit of perspective. I appreciate you all coming and hanging out. So all y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. Hey, and also, I say this with a lot of, I say this seriously. Remember what happened today. Remember, you see a police officer, firefighter, EMT, thank them for their service, because I don't think that happens enough. And you can see the type of personal sacrifice that happened today, 22 years ago in New York. These are what these ordinary citizens will do for you and for the rest of the people in our great nation. Peace out, everybody. God bless. And thank you.